You are standing on a rooftop terrace overlooking the Bund. The air is thick. It is that specific kind of Shanghai humidity that clings to your skin like a wet film, trapping the smell of stale Tsingtao beer and cheap cologne against your collar. You look across the Huangpu River. The Oriental Pearl Tower stands there, piercing the smog, glowing in its hypnotic, hyper-saturated purple and pink. It is the exact postcard image that convinced you to pack your life into 2 suitcases 24 months ago. But tonight, the neon feels aggressive. It feels like a lie. You turn away from the skyline and look at the crowd around you. It is an expat networking event, or at least that is what the digital flyer on WeChat called it. You are surrounded by people who look exactly like you, trying to escape the exact same quiet desperation. They are holding generic cocktails that cost 120 RMB a glass, speaking a little too loudly, laughing at jokes that aren't funny. You nod along to a conversation with a guy from Vancouver who claims he is launching a revolutionary tech startup. You both know he is actually teaching conversational English to disinterested teenagers in a strip mall in Minhang. You are doing the exact same thing. You exchange QR codes. Let's grab a coffee sometime. The universal, unspoken lie of the transient expat. You will never scan that code. You will never see him again. You excuse yourself, claiming you have an early morning meeting. Another lie. You step into the elevator. The mirrored doors slide shut, cutting off the low hum of the rooftop bass. For the first time all night, you look at your own reflection. Your eyes are bloodshot. Your posture is defeated. You built an entire persona for this city. The successful foreigner, the creative nomad, the international professional. You document the superficial glamour on Instagram, carefully cropping out the suffocating reality of your actual existence. The elevator reaches the ground floor. You step out onto the damp pavement of Nanjing East Road. The tourists have mostly vanished. The relentless, crushing density of the daytime crowds has receded, leaving behind a sprawling concrete canyon. You pull out your phone. The screen illuminates your face in a pale, harsh light. There is a new notification, a WeChat message from your landlord. You open the translation feature. The mechanical English translation is clumsy, but the thread is perfectly clear. He is finding an excuse to keep your deposit. 3 months of rent, 21,600 RMB. Money you do not have to spare. Money that is currently tying you down to a cramped 7,200 RMB studio apartment in Putuo. You start walking. You do not order a Didi. You cannot bear the thought of sitting in the back of a sterile white sedan, making forced small talk with a driver while the meter runs. You need to walk. You need to feel the ground beneath your feet to remind yourself that you are actually here. You walk away from the river, away from the glittering colonial facades and the expensive illusion of the financial district. With every block you cross, the city changes. The polished granite gives way to cracked, uneven paving stones. The blinding neon fades into the sickly, flickering orange glow of street lamps. You cross into a neighborhood of older lane houses. The Shikumen architecture stands in stark contrast to the glass towers behind you. Here, the air smells different. The scent of ozone and expensive perfume is replaced by the heavy, comforting smell of damp earth, boiling soy sauce, and ancient wood. You look up at the tangled webs of electrical wires hanging dangerously low overhead. You see laundry strung out on bamboo poles, hanging limp in the humid night air. This is the real city, the one that doesn't care about your visa status or your networking events. You think about your apartment in Putuo. You think about the water pressure in the shower that barely musters a trickle. You think about the black mold blooming in the corner of the bathroom ceiling because the exhaust fan has been broken since you moved in. You think about the sheer exhausting bureaucracy of existing here, the endless trips to the Exit Entry Administration Bureau in Pudong, sitting in a plastic chair, clutching a folder of translated documents, terrified that a single missing red stamp will unravel your entire life. It is a constant low-level anxiety that settles in your chest and never leaves. It is 3:45 a.m. You are a ghost walking through a machine of 26 million people. You pass a pile of shared bicycles, violently tangled together on the sidewalk like a monument to modern convenience and urban decay. You pass street sweepers in bright orange vests, already beginning their rhythmic, endless battle against the city's debris. They do not look up as you walk by. You realize how thoroughly invisible you are. When you first arrived, that invisibility felt like freedom. You could be anyone. You were untethered from your past, a blank slate in a metropolis that moved too fast to care. But tonight, that freedom feels like a slow, quiet drowning. You have no anchor, no roots. If you were to simply pack your bags and leave tomorrow on a flight out of Pudong International, the city would not even notice your absence. The gap you leave behind would be filled within hours. The realization is terrifying, and yet strangely intoxicating. You turn a corner onto a narrow, dimly lit street. Through the humid mist, you see a small source of light. It is a street food cart, a solitary jianbing stand, operating in the deep, quiet hours before the city wakes up. A single bare bulb hangs over the metal hot plate, casting long shadows against the brick wall behind it. The vendor is an older man. His shoulders are stooped under the weight of a life you cannot even begin to comprehend. He is wearing a faded blue jacket, and his hands are deeply lined, stained with years of hot oil and hard labor. You walk up to the cart. You do not speak. You do not need to. You hold up one finger. He nods, his expression entirely neutral. He does not offer a warm smile. He does not try to practice broken English with you. He simply begins to work. You watch his hands. There is a mesmerizing, mechanical grace to his movements. He ladles a scoop of pale batter onto the circular iron plate. With a wooden spreader, he turns it into a perfect paper-thin crepe. He cracks an egg over it, spreading the yolk in a bright yellow spiral. You feel the heat radiating from the iron plate. It cuts through the damp chill of the night air, warming your face. He brushes on a thick layer of dark fermented bean paste. He scatters a handful of chopped scallions and cilantro. Finally, he places the bao kui, the crispy fried cracker, in the center, folding the soft crepe around it with the practiced efficiency of a man who has done this 10,000 times. He slides the hot jianbing into a small, clear plastic bag. He hands it to you. You pull out your phone, open Alipay, and scan the crumpled, grease-stained QR code taped to the front of his cart. 7 RMB, less than $1. You look at the man. You want to say something profound. You want to bridge the massive, impossible gap between your transient, fabricated expat life and his grounded, exhausted reality. But you just nod. "Shexy," you say. "Thank you." He nods back, a slight, almost imperceptible dip of his chin. He turns his attention back to his hot plate, wiping it down, preparing for the morning rush that is only an hour away. You walk away from the cart, holding the plastic bag. The heat of the food seeps through the thin plastic, pressing against your palm. It is a small, heavy warmth in the middle of a vast, indifferent darkness. You take a bite. The contrast of textures, the soft, savory egg, the sharp bite of the cilantro, the shattering crunch of the fried cracker is absolute perfection. It is better than the 120 RMB cocktails. It is better than the rooftop views. It is real. You stop walking. You stand in the middle of the empty, narrow street, eating your food in the pale light of a distant street lamp. The anxiety about your visa, the anger toward your landlord, the crushing weight of your own fabricated identity, it all begins to fracture. You look up at the sky. There are no stars visible, just the heavy gray underbelly of the Shanghai clouds, reflecting the city's eternal glow. You finally understand the brutal, beautiful truth of this place. Shanghai does not love you. Shanghai does not hate you. You are not the main character here. You are not a pioneer. You are just another temporary ghost, wandering the neon-lit corridors, seeking shelter in the shadows. Your struggles do not matter. Your deposit does not matter. Your fake creative persona does not matter. And in that absolute insignificance, you finally find peace. There is no pressure to be anything anymore. The illusion has completely collapsed. You finish the food. You wipe your mouth with the back of your hand. You turn your collar up against the damp wind, and you begin the long walk back to Putuo. You are completely alone, and for the first time in 2 years, you are entirely okay with that. That wraps it up for today. The story you just heard is fiction. But if you've ever lived alone in a foreign country, you know that the loneliest moments aren't when you're completely by yourself. They happen when the illusion of your life crashes into the unforgiving reality of a city that doesn't know your name. If this one hit different, drop a comment and tell me which part stayed with you. I've got more stories like this coming, so hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one.